Alright, so thank you for tuning in to Chomp at the Bit. I'm Kyle Litters, of course. And with it being Thursday, that means we have Thursday Night Football tonight. But before we look forward to week 9, once again, I feel like this season is moving really quickly. But we're at to look back at week 8, see what happened in the NFL, see how my picks did, and of course, keep up with the leaderboard to see if I'm any closer to the 60% after this week or did I take a step back. But before we get into that, just like to say that did notice that there's been some activity on the Facebook page for the podcast. Have had quite a few people recently like the page, so appreciate that so much. Hopefully we can continue to grow it and, really get a real community where a lot of, talking back and forth between myself and you guys. And because of that, I will try to do more posts in the page instead of just putting the episodes there with the occasional post. Because I do, I am on Twitter probably more often, but I do realize that the Facebook page would be a great way to interact with you guys as well. So that will be a change going forward. So I just wanted to say that. But let's go ahead, get into this NFL stuff. And of course, when we look back at week 8, that means we're getting into the pick segment. So, and you already know when you hear that, that means we're going to go over these games. I'll give you a quick little, a quick little cliff note for each game as to why whichever team won did win, and maybe would probably tying into my pick if I got the pick wrong, what happened that way. So go through these games, and if you hear this, obviously means I got it wrong. Hear this, that means I got it right. And you remember, I do my picks based off of the spread. And once again, if you don't get what that is, if you look on ESPN, Fox Sports, wherever you look, you'll see by the games, you'll see minus a number, plus a number. That's just letting you know minus is the favorite, plus underdog. In order for the favorite to cover, they have to win by more than that number. So if it's -7, you have to win by more than 7. The underdog team, all they have to do to cover is not lose by more than that number. So +7, they can't lose by more than a touchdown, basically. Lose by less than that, or if they win the game, they cover. If the number hits exactly, it's a push or a tie or a draw, however you want to look at it. So there we go. Real quick explanation. Let's go ahead and get into these games. Starting with last Thursday night, where we had the Packers versus the Cardinals. And this is a game where, going into it, I picked the Cardinals minus the 6.5 because the Packers had some injuries. They were missing Devontae Adams amongst other people. And I thought it would be a great opportunity for the Cardinals to get a win over a conference foe, get a game up on them, because going into the game, both teams are Cardinals were 7-0 going into the game. Packers 6-1. So for the Cardinals, it would be a way to get 2 games ahead of the Packers in the conference. And the Packers are looking to even it up, give the Cardinals their first loss. And it was a great game. It came down to the final play. And Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, it was a star-studded, quarterback matchup there. Kyler Murray did struggle in this game as he failed to throw a touchdown. I can't remember many games this year where that's happened. So the Green Bay defense played really well, which is what Green Bay needed to happen in this game. They got great production on the ground. 34 carries for Green Bay, 151 yards. So they were able to, control the clock. and keep the Cardinals offense off the field. Because we know that the Cardinals are a quick strike team. They have that ability at least. Trying to see time of possession to give you that number. Yeah, so the Green Bay had the ball for over 37 minutes, and Arizona only had it for 22 minutes. So that's clearly where Green Bay's game plan was in all of this. And like I said, came down very last play of the game, last series of the game, because Green Bay took a 24-21 lead late. Cardinals driving down, get into the red zone, and then on a fourth down, no, not a fourth down play. I think it was third down. Either way, it was a pass in the end zone in the right corner, and it looked like when Kyler Murray let go of the pass that it was going to work because there was a little bit of room and Kyler Murray threw it in a good spot, just that the receiver didn't get his head around quick enough, and it was picked off in the end zone. Green Bay holds on, get the 24-21 win, so that means it's a loss for me. And Green Bay, with everything against them, down a lot of players, goes into Arizona, gives the Cardinals their first loss of the season, and in the process is now tied with the Cardinals at 7-1. So we'll have to see as the season goes on. Is this a game that maybe Arizona, regrets that they didn't win? And could this be a win for Green Bay that maybe pushes them to better playoff success? Because we've seen in the past the Packers have good years, but get to the playoffs and kind of disappoint. So a win like this is something that could definitely help that Green Bay squad when they were down so many players. Well, let's go ahead. Take a look at the next game. Next game was the Falcons and the Panthers. I took the Falcons minus the 3 in this one. Because going into this game, the Panthers were on a 4-game losing streak. Came into this game at 3-4. The Falcons, after a couple of wins against some below average teams, had gotten their record back to 3-3. So it was a chance for the Falcons to get over 500. The Panthers came into this one trying to stop their 4-game skid, get back into the win column. And, of course, before this game, it was either before the game or right as the game started, we learned that Calvin Ridley was not going to play because he's dealing with personal issues. And then later, basically towards the end of the game, we learned that he's stepping away from football for a little bit for mental well-being. So, definitely hope Calvin Ridley gets all the help he needs. And, of course, football is not the most important thing. It's not more important than, mental health and all that. So, of course, Calvin Ridley did the right thing. But getting back to on the field, we saw wasn't exactly the prettiest game. I'll be honest with you. Both offenses were pretty lackluster. What did save Carolina in this game was that they were able to get their running game going. And if you remember in the preview of week 8 or whatever, I said in this matchup, Carolina needed to take the ball out of Sam Darnold's hand because we were starting to see during the 4-game losing streak, Darnold was starting to make poor decisions, which really into turnovers, and they were losing games that way. And I get they don't have Christian McCaffrey, but, you got Chuba Hubbard, who was pretty good in college. I feel like they needed to come to this game, really give him a chance to show what he could do. And he had 24 carries, 82 yards. That is less than 4 yards a carry, but he was effective on the ground. Sam Darnold as well ran 8 times. He had 66 yards. So that was great for them. Overall, they were 47 carries, 203 yards. And the Falcons, I mean, they rushed it for 4 yards as a carry, but they only ran it 20 times, 82 yards. So it came down to Carolina's defense giving Atlanta problems. They got 2 interceptions from Matt Ryan. I think they also got a fumble from Matt Ryan. And their new pickup, recent pickup, Stephon Gilmore, who they got from New England and played his first game for Carolina. He had an interception late, which pretty much sealed the fate for the Falcons. And Carolina goes into Atlanta, gets the win 19-13. That's another loss. And this quick side note here. Well, not side note, but quick footnote to this game. Atlanta's issues, which are becoming more and more clear week after week. Their offense is basically one-dimensional. Running the ball wise, it seems like they don't fully commit to running the ball. I mean, it's not a strength of their game, but I think with Ridley gone, their pass offense is one-dimensional, and it's not even funny because it seems like most times Matt Ryan is looking for Kyle Pitts first, which I get it. He's the most talented receiver threat that they have. But if you look at these first 7 games, the person who might be Atlanta's MVP could be Cordero Patterson, as they use him in the backfield as well as in the passing game. At least he's the most versatile player. So I don't know if it comes down to maybe using Patterson more as a wide receiver now to try to take some pressure off of Pitts. And you can still use Patterson in the backfield sometimes, but I would think it'd be a lot less. Maybe use him in the backfield on third downs where it's probably obvious passing situations, but if he's out there, you can still run the ball. Just let Mike Davis be your lead back. Put Patterson out wide when most of the time, backfield third downs when it's probably third and long or whatever. And see if Patterson can do something to take the pressure off Pitts, because Pitts is facing double and triple teams at this point because nobody else in the receiving core is a real, threat defensively, because nobody's going into these games worried about Tajay Sharp and Zacchaeus and all this stuff. So, I said the past couple of weeks that the 2 wins Atlanta had, they still looked like a bad football team. And this game showed even more that they are still a bad football team. And yeah. So like I said, Panthers are now 4-4. Falcons fall to 3-4. Let's go ahead and move to the next game here. Next game was Buffalo and Miami. Going into this game, I took Buffalo minus the 14. And, it was a pretty easy reason why I did do that. It was because Miami is struggling mightily. I can freely admit that going into this season, I thought Miami was going to be a team that was going to be a threat for a playoff spot in the AFC. And if not make the playoffs, at least be right there and make the AFC East like a 3-team race between them, New England, and Buffalo. But this season has gone far left, and a lot of the issues can be traced back to the quarterback position, because Tua, he ain't it. I don't know. There were questions about him coming out of Alabama, but I think most people thought once he got into the NFL, he'd be fine because he'd get into a system or something. I don't know. But for as good as he was at Alabama, he's been as bad at Miami. This game, he went 21 for 39, so hovering around 50%, which we know in this day and age, if you're not throwing for over 60%, you're pretty mediocre. No touchdowns, threw an interception. So with him struggling throwing the ball in this game, then rushing, they were 23 carries, 68 yards, which is non-existent. That spelled the recipe for a low-scoring game on Miami's part. So the only way they were going to win this was to keep Buffalo down, which they did for the first half. I'll give Miami credit. This game went into the half 3-3. And when that happened, I thought maybe Miami could pull off the upset. But coming out into the second half, Buffalo went on a 23-8 run in the second half to win the game 26-11. So, first win of the week. Josh Allen, sorry. He was 29-42, 249, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He wasn't, otherworldly in this game, but he was big in the second half. Interesting part with Buffalo is I just don't know how successful they can be, though, going forward with Josh Allen also being the leading rusher. It seems like in a lot of these games, he rushes for the most yards. And I just think that's going to be exposing him to an injury risk as we get on later in the season. And it probably wears him out by the time you get to the playoffs. So that's something they're going to need to address later into this season or in the offseason if they go out and, get a better running back. I don't know what it is. Upgrade the offensive line. They got to do something. He didn't get sacked, so the offensive line must be doing something well, but I don't know what it is with their run game. It's just not happening for them. Cole Beasley had 10 catches, 110 yards, so him running in the slot gave Miami issues in this game. And let's see. So Buffalo, after the slow start in the first half, really kicked it into gear. Second half, pulled away, got a win that they had to have because Miami's just not good right now. So Buffalo improves 5-2. Dolphins are now 1-7. And we move on to the next game. Let's go Bears-Niners. So this game, I had the Bears +4. I was looking at it as a chance for Justin Fields to bounce back against a team that's dealing with their own injuries and all that. And I guess this was kind of a game where in the first half, it was a slow-moving game. The Bears went into the half up 13-9, so very low scoring, and it looked like that was kind of going to be the way that was going to go the rest of the way. But coming out of the half, the 49ers figured it out, what was going on, and were able to put up points. They put up 24 in the second half. They did it on the back of Garoppolo. He was 17 for 28, threw for 322. So they had a lot of big plays in the passing game. He even ran for a couple of touchdowns late in the game and there were big plays by him. Now there's a play in the goal line where I think he took the handoff. It seemed like it was supposed to be a passing play, but I guess he saw something when he rolled out to the left and he just tucked the ball and he took it in for a touchdown. And actually, when I think about it, I think Samuel came in motion. It was supposed to be one of those where snap back to Garoppolo. He does like a quick little shovel pass to the wide receiver cutting in front of him. But something happened in the communication and the snap didn't come quick enough. So Garoppolo just took it and ran around the left side for a touchdown. And so it was because of Garoppolo's play, not only with his arm, but his legs, was able to get the win, a much-needed win for them as they improved to 3-4. So they won the game 33-22. So I got that wrong, but it was good to see, San Francisco play better in the second half. Justin Fields, I'll say he was better this week than he was last week. I mean, he couldn't get any worse. He was 19 for 27, 175, touchdown, interception, sacked 4 times. That's a little much, but that shows you San Francisco really pressured him. And because they were trying to force him to make quick decisions, because we've seen through the he didn't start the first game, like the first 5 games or so of his career. Sometimes he has trouble processing defenses and making the correct decision. But Fields did help himself on the ground, running 10 times on scrambles, 103 yards. And this is what I was talking about after he struggled last week, was that the offensive game plan needs to open up more to allow him to use his athleticism to create plays. Now, he's definitely going to be smart once he's running, because, you don't want him getting hurt or anything. But it was interesting to see that, because Matt Nagy did not coach in this game, as I think he had COVID, so he was away from the team. And it just seemed like a more free-flowing offense. So I want to see if Nagy comes back. Does he continue to allow that to happen? What's the other note on this one? Well, Justin Fields' interception, oddly enough, was by Josh Norman. You remember Josh Norman? The stiff arm from Derrick Henry. And then he was gone for a while, but he's popped up again in San Francisco, and I was shocked that he was the one who made the interception. But like I said, 49ers 3-4. Bears fall to now 3-5. All right, next game. Steelers-Browns. So I took the Steelers plus the 4.5 in this one. And I was going off the assumption that Mayfield was going to play, but I know he's playing hurt. And I know that Pittsburgh's defense likes blitzing a lot and creating pressure. So I thought they would be able to get to Mayfield and cause some problems. That's basically what happened. So Steelers came into this game 3-3. Browns came into this at 4-3. Roethlisberger had a pretty good game, I will say. He was 22, 34, 266 with a touchdown. The run game was key for Pittsburgh. And that's something I said as well when Pittsburgh started off slow, was that they're going to have to get the running game going to help, bridge the gap from the weakening of Roethlisberger's arsenal. Gone are the days where Roethlisberger stands back there, 4 or 5 guys draped around him, breaking through, finding plays downfield. He doesn't do that anymore. He's basically a statue back there. So, and even with those numbers, Roethlisberger had a QBR of only 37. So that kind of lets you know it's basically the quarterback that he is right now. And Mayfield was a little bit better QBR-wise, but he struggled. 20 for 31, 225, QBR 53. And rushing, Cleveland 23 for 96. Like I said, Pittsburgh 32 for 115. So these were two teams that I understood coming into this. It was going to be whichever team could establish the run better would probably win this game. So yeah, this was another game that came down to the end where Pittsburgh took a lead late on a crazy throw from Roethlisberger to what's his name? Freiermuth, where he threw in the back of the end zone. Freiermuth went up, came down, both feet in, gave him the lead. Cleveland had the ball with a chance to take the lead, and they couldn't do it offensively. So it was really, it was disappointing for me because I feel like these are games where Cleveland could have came out in this one. They were at home. Probably should have beaten Pittsburgh. But there's this, I guess after Cleveland started off so well, something is missing with this team. And we're kind of starting to figure out what that is, because if you've seen past couple of days on ESPN or whatever, there's been some talk about Odell Beckham. I think he's been excused from practice the past couple of days. Supposedly he's unhappy now. His dad came out and said that basically trying to put a lot of the problems onto Baker Mayfield, saying like, Baker's not looking for him. He only had one target in this game, which, I mean, for Odell, that is pretty shocking. But something is going on there behind the scenes. But the weird thing is that the trade deadline just came and went. They didn't move him. So I don't know what the ultimate plan is here at this point. I'd have to see, because I'm not sure about the NFL, because I think you can, if it gets to the point where he becomes like a detriment and you just have to get rid of him, I think they could put him on waivers, see if he clears waivers, and then do something there. I think they can do that. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, clearly the Baker-Odell experiment seems like it's coming to an end. And it's kind of unfortunate because if Odell is playing right, you have Odell, Jarvis Landry, Njoku, Bryant, Hooper. You have some real weapons there. But once again, it seems like Odell with another team, because we kind of saw this towards the end of his time with the Giants, where a lot of noise started coming out from the locker room. And fortunately, they just got to move on from him. And ultimately, Odell could be what sinks Cleveland's season in a year where they could have done something special after last year. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe they turn it around somehow. And if Odell's not part of the plans, maybe they need to just distance from him, create a new game plan, try to get, Baker to spread the ball out more. Because we did see that in this game. Landry 5 catches, Njoku 3, Bryant 2, Higgins 2, Hooper 4. Chubb had 1 out of the backfield. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing after the start for Cleveland. They're back to 4-4, back at 500. Steelers are now 4-3. Gotta be honest with you, I did not see them being 4-3 at this point. But hey, however you win, it's fine with me. You just got to find a way. So for Pittsburgh, it's clearly going to be on the back of their running game. Once again, we'll see how this plays out in the AFC North going into the second half of the season. All right, let's go ahead to the next game, which is Detroit and Philadelphia. This is, who would I take in this one? Oh, wait, I didn't even say. Pittsburgh won 15-10. Sorry about that. That was a win for me. Now, on to the next game. We have Philadelphia and Detroit. I took Detroit in this one plus 3.5. Kind of felt the same way as last week, where I just feel like at some point Detroit's going to have to get a win. I thought this would be a good chance to get one on their schedule because Philadelphia hasn't exactly been playing that well either this year. Well, I was definitely wrong about this one because Philadelphia went into Detroit, beat them down 44-6. So, it's a loss. I don't even know where to begin here because, like, you look at Philly's numbers. I mean, I don't know. Jalen Hurts was 9 for 14, 103 yards. If I told you a quarterback put those kind of numbers up and still won 44-6, how do you describe that for Detroit? Running the ball 46 times for 236 yards. So right there, that's how you know how they lost. But looking at those numbers, that seems like Detroit got pushed around. Maybe we're starting to see, as the losses pile up, the mentality of Detroit, they're shutting down. Maybe. So Dan Campbell, who, I mean, I didn't expect to be in Detroit long anyway, but he's going to have to do something to stop this trend because other teams will just go into Detroit and just run on them if it seems like they're quitting on the season, because clearly wins are going to be hard to come by. And you have some players who will probably be entering free agency in the offseason who may not want to get hurt. So maybe they're playing a little bit cautiously. I don't know. But I was definitely surprised to see that Philadelphia could beat Detroit by 38. I didn't think Philadelphia was 38 points better than Detroit. Jared Goff, 25 for 34, 222, whatever. Run game, 18 for 57. I mean, they can't do anything well. The only bright spot for Detroit, TJ Hawkinson, 10 catches, 89 yards. So, he's being wasted in Detroit. But, yeah. Not really any reason to spend too much time on this game. But Eagles, 3-5 now. Lions fall to 0-8. And the search for a win continues in Detroit. Let's go ahead to the next game. Titans-Colts. This is a game that I think most people circled on the calendar when the week started, because it was two teams who, before the season, we thought these are probably going to be the two teams fighting for the AFC South title. Colts got off to a rough start this year. Titans kind of started a little slow as well, but they turned it around, came into this game at 5-2. Colts were 3-4. So I took the Titans +3 because I remember saying I was kind of surprised that the Colts were the favorite in this matchup. But I guess it's because the Colts are coming off winning, I guess, 3 in a row. So I think people were thinking that maybe they had turned their season around. Story in this one was Carson Wentz, once again, another week where he has a head-scratching interception that you just don't understand what he's doing. And in this case, they were backed up against their goal line. And he was, I guess he's like in the process of getting sacked for a safety. But he got his arm free, tried throwing it, which I don't know what he was hoping was going to happen, because he had a guy draped over him trying to take him to the ground, and he tries to throw a pass. It floats in the air, gets picked off by Molden, I think the defensive lineman, who then basically falls into the end zone. And I just don't get it, because I mean, I wasn't on the Carson Wentz train when he signed with Indy. I wasn't one of those who thought Indy was automatically going to have this great year because they got Carson Wentz. Because, yeah, Carson Wentz had that year in Philly when he was, an MVP candidate and then got hurt. But since then, what has he really been? He's been a disappointment. And, they had a few wins that they strung together. People were starting to feel good about him. But we're seeing the same things that plagued him at the end in Philly carrying over to Indianapolis. Senseless turnovers. He went 27 for 51. That's like poor. That's well below 50% throwing the ball. Sorry, no, it's not. It's right above 50%. That's probably like 50, probably 53. That's not good enough. And Indianapolis, you have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, talented running back, because that was what this matchup was built up as. Derrick Henry versus Jonathan Taylor, the top two running backs in the league rushing yards wise. But Taylor was only 16 for 70, not the best day. He did contribute in the passing game, 3 for 52, so he gave you 122 all-purpose yards. You'll take that. Henry actually struggled in this game, and then we later found out he has a foot issue, and he'll probably miss the rest of the regular season. Chance to come back in like January for the playoffs. So the running back matchup didn't live up to what we thought. So it came down to quarterback play. Tannehill was just better than Wentz. Tannehill, 23 for 33. Great percentage there. 265, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Both quarterbacks with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Wentz, that one interception is the one that stands out in my mind. It was the worst of the 4 between the two of them. And because of that, the Titans were able to come away with this win. They won it 34-31 in overtime. And I even believe in overtime was the second interception by Wentz when he was trying to throw, I think it was an out to his left in the Titans corner. Byard. He's a safety, I believe. He jumped the route, got the pick, which then set up Tennessee to basically kick the winning field goal in overtime. And yeah, so Indy looks like they'll probably just beat bad teams, and when they go up against better teams, Wentz's inability to make smart decisions is going to keep sinking them. But there's still some time left, so like I said, 34-31 Titans. I got that one right. Colts fall to 3-5. Titans are now 6-2. So the Titans are now 3 games up in the division on the Colts. And yeah, Titans clearly think they're on their way to winning the AFC South. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. We have the Bengals and the Jets. Let's see. I took the Bengals in this one -11. And for obvious reasons, the Jets are the Jets. Bengals are coming off the big win over Baltimore. Yeah. And we're sitting atop the AFC going into this week. They were 5-2. Jets came in at 1-5. So all the signs pointed to the Bengals having another easy week. Yeah, it was in New York, but the Bengals are the better team. They have a better quarterback. They have better running back. They have better wide receivers. And a better defense. So, seemed pretty obvious to take the Bengals in this one. Well, once again, can't be too sure about anything in the NFL. With no Zach Wilson, the Jets turned to Mike White, who, to be honest with you, before these past 2 weeks, I had no idea who Mike White was. Don't really know much about him, but he had his coming out party in this game. Mike White went 37 for 45, which is ridiculous. Threw for 405. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So out of the 8 incomplete passes he had all day, 2 of them were picked off. And here's another oddity in the NFL. After hearing those numbers, you probably think Mike White might have had near a perfect QBR. Far from it, his QBR was only 54. Now, I'll be the last one to tell you, I don't understand how QBR works. It's all factored about, throws you make, win, I don't know. But somehow you throw 37, 45, 405, and your QBR is only 54. Go figure. Joe Burrow on the other side was 21 for 34, 259, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So one less pick by Joe Burrow, but clear advantage there was to Mike White. And the run game as well. You got to give the Jets credit. They held Joe Mixon in check. He was 14 for 33. And with that, Mike White outperformed Joe Burrow. The run game was non-existent. Gave the Jets a real chance in this game. And probably in the biggest shocker of the day, the Jets ended up knocking off the Bengals 34-31. It's another loss. But the Bengals, they fall to 5-3. But this will hopefully give them a little bit of a wake-up call in that, yeah, you played well, beat a Baltimore team, but if you don't bring it week after week, you're liable to get upset by anybody. And losing to a Jets team that's now 2-5, but you just lost to a one-win Jets team, has to make you, go back to the drawing board, really focus, and maybe this is a loss for the Bengals that will look back and see if their season goes as it was, projected to go as they played and got some wins early on. Maybe this is a loss that works out for them in the late run where they realize that can't take anybody and you can't take anybody lightly. You have to bring your A game week in and week out. So, like I said, big shock. But shout out to Mike White. I mean, might have a quarterback controversy in New York when Zach Wilson comes back. I mean, just saying. Zach Wilson was not putting up numbers like this. So either Mike White has a better handle on the offense, or Zach Wilson is not seeing what Mike White is. Or, I don't know, maybe the wide receivers like playing for Mike White. I don't know. They got to figure that out. But Jets get their second win. Bengals are now 5-3. Let's go to the next game. We have Rams Texans. This is another game where it seemed pretty obvious on paper. Rams are minus 16. I took the Rams minus the 16 because, clearly have way more talent than Houston. Let's see. All right, so looking at this game, we had Matt Stafford, 21 for 32, 305. They were able to get the run game going, 31 for 165. So offensively, the Rams could do whatever they wanted. They built up a huge lead through 3 quarters. They were up 38-0. So well on their way to probably embarrassing blowout of the Texans. But then through some kind of wizardry, The Texans score 22 points in the fourth quarter. Davis Mills, 29 for 38 for 310. Once again, his QBR is only 12 because he was sacked 5 times. I guess that kills your QBR. They didn't run the ball, 14 for 44, so it was all Davis Mills in the fourth quarter. So clearly what happened here was the Rams got out 38-0. They started playing like prevent and stuff, gave the Texans plays underneath. They got, put some drives together, scored some touchdowns, had an onside kick or 2 in the process, went for 2 a couple of times. It was good to see, Houston fight back a little bit after getting down 38-0. But for all intents and purposes, through the first 3 quarters when the game was, not really in hand, but when the Rams were clearly taking it more seriously on defense, they were blowing them out. They let up a little in the fourth quarter. The Texans put together scoring drives. So 38-22 means the number hit exactly 16. So it's not a win or a loss. It is a push. So that's a tie for me, or a draw, whatever you want to call it. And based on how this week is going so far, this is a game that's probably going to come back and hurt me this week because it was a game that should have been an easy win. It was going on to be a win after 3 quarters. And because the Rams let up in the fourth, it was a win I should have had that's been taken away. So I guess because of that, I should. Boo! Yeah. Should say boo. But hey. Rams improved to 7-1. And with the Cardinals loss that we talked about earlier, as well as the Packers win, we now have with those 3 teams at 7-1. The Texans fall to 1-7. Still not a good team. And as we saw the trade deadline coming and going, they still have the whole Deshaun Watson issue. But because of his legal issues, it seems like they couldn't really trade him because what team's going to take him, not knowing what's going to go on there. So that's still going to hang over this team for the rest of the year. But I mean, hey, maybe David Mills, because of this fourth quarter showing, maybe he can, use this as momentum and play better the next coming weeks. And at least give the Texans the idea that he can be the quarterback of the future. Because right now, you're 1-7, so it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a stretch to think if the Texans, well, not if, but when the Texans end up with a top pick in the first round next year, that they wouldn't draft a quarterback again. So right now, Mills is auditioning to be the quarterback, the starting quarterback next year. He'll probably be on the roster, but maybe probably as a backup. And for Stafford and them, it was an easy win. So they did what they had to do. And as we learned in the week as well, they got Von Miller from Denver. So you're going to add Von Miller to that defense where you'll now have to deal with Aaron Donald up front, Leonard Floyd and Von Miller in the linebacking core, Jalen Ramsey on the back end. Interested to see when Von Miller gets on the field how that defense looks. Because depending on Von Miller's health and all that, that move right there could be the move that gets the Rams into the Super Bowl. But we'll have to wait, obviously, months for that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. We have the Patriots and the Chargers. So for those of you who might be new here, I am a Patriots fan. Born and raised in Boston, down in the Atlanta area now, so I do follow the Falcons as well, but I'm still a Patriots fan. So just want to put that out there for you guys to get to know where I'm coming from with my sports fandom. But I will say. I don't let that fandom, breed any biases or anything like that. Keep it straight with you. So, anyway, go ahead. Patriots, Chargers. I took the Patriots plus 4.5. And I was going off of last year's game where Belichick put together a phenomenal defensive game plan, which led to a 45-0 shutout of the Chargers. And that was even with the struggles of Cam Newton and all that. The struggles at quarterback, basically. And looking at the past few games with Mac Jones continue to get better, continuing to push the ball downfield a little bit more. I thought with Belichick's ability to as it looks like, to confuse Herbert with Mac Jones better play at quarterback, it seemed that the Chargers were ripe for an upset. So that's why I went with the Patriots plus 4.5. And basically that's what happened in this game, where both quarterbacks were 18 for 35. Herbert threw for 223, but Mac Jones threw for 217. And if that quarterback matchup was going to be somewhat level, that's a win for New England. The fear was Herbert, with his second chance, would be able to dissect what Belichick was trying to do and have a big day in the passing game. But it didn't happen. So like I said, win for New England there. Coming into this game, most people thought New England was going to rely on their rushing attack because the Chargers have one of the worst rush defenses in the league. New England ran 39 for 142, so that's about like 3.5 yards a carry, which is, usually the watermark is 4 yards a carry. But 3.5 running 39 times, that's effective enough. And then on the other side, the Chargers were 20 carries, 163 yards, 8 yards a carry. But that number is skewed because the Chargers had a 75-yard run early on in the game. So you wipe that away. It's about, 19 carries, like 88 yards. So, but it was an exciting game. Had some back and forth. Mac Jones continued his growth because he did hit some plays downfield. He continues to show that even with the numbers not being there, because 18 for 35 is poor, but he made the right decision. There were some times where he threw the ball away where that's what was the right thing to do instead of forcing it. He made plays in the passing game that were needed. He was much better in the second half than the first half. And for this New England team to go out to LA, get a win over the Chargers, their first win over a team that's seen as a playoff caliber team. And defensively, Adrian Phillips was the MVP on defense. He had 2 interceptions. One was a pick six, which turned out to be a big play in the game. Because for the most part, this game was 27-17. The Chargers got a late touchdown, basically garbage time touchdown, because they scored with like 10 seconds left on a deep throw to the end zone where Josh Palmer out-jumped, what's his name in the secondary? Jalen Mills for a touchdown, which made it 27-24. So the score doesn't really tell the full story here. New England, for the most part, dominated this game. And the Patriots got the win 27-24 to improve to 4-4. They're now 3-0 on the road, which is interesting because I think most people thought with the young quarterback they would be a little bit better at home, maybe struggle on the road. It's been quite the opposite. The Chargers are now 4-3. So New England, being 4-4 looks a lot better than being 3-5. They are now right back into the playoff hunt. I think they're now the number 8 seed. And their next stretch of games gets a little bit easier. So, and we know Belichick's philosophy. He talks about playing your best in November and December. And we're now into the first week of November. So the Patriots are set up to go on a little run here. So we'll see at the end of the month, around Thanksgiving and all that, where New England is. But this is a big win for them and could take them off on a road where they start moving up the standings here. Chargers, I'm not too worried. I still think that they're a good football team. It was just that clearly Belichick has Herbert and the Chargers number. We'll have to see if they can bounce back next week and get a win. But yeah, still like Herbert. I still like, Keenan Allen and Jared Cook. I still like the Chargers makeup. But definitely a big win for New England. Let's go ahead. Check out the next game. So we have Jaguars and the Seahawks. This is a matchup that I took the Jaguars plus the 3.5. Did that mainly because Geno Smith is now the starting quarterback for the Seahawks. He struggled last week. So I thought there was a good chance he may play better this week, but I didn't think he would do. I thought it would be like a low-scoring game, and if the Jaguars lost, it'd be like a field goal game, or maybe they pull an upset only because the Seahawks offense struggled. Once again, kind of been the theme of the week so far. I was dead wrong on this one. Seahawks got the win 31-7, improved to 3-5. Jaguars fall to 1-6. And Geno Smith, I think he went 19 for his first 19 throwing the ball. Ended the game 20 for 24, 195, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. QBR of 83.7. So he had a great day for himself. Running the ball was 25 for 69, so not much there. So offensively, they didn't do too much offensively. But defensively, they were able to keep the Jaguars out of the end zone. Trevor Lawrence was 32 for 54, 238, touchdown, interception. Was only sacked once, running the ball 19 for 82. So, I don't think there was any. Yeah, there's no like special teams touchdown. Yeah, there was. Seattle got a kick return touchdown. I think. Homer, yeah, he got that off of a onside kick. I remember that play. Yeah, it was one of those plays that kind of lets you know the Jaguars season. You try an onside kick. Homer, shot a gap, recovered it, and just kept going, scored a touchdown. So, yeah, Jaguars 1-6. Tough year. We'll still have to see if Urban Meyer keeps his job past this year. Because we know that there's going to be some college talk. The USC job is still out there. Plus his off-the-field stuff he had a couple of weeks ago. The team doesn't seem to be getting any better. It's not looking good for him. For the Seahawks, maybe this is a win that saves their season. Because if they had lost this game, they'd have been 2-6. Russell Wilson, I think, is still a week or so away. But now 3-5, you feel a little better if you have to use Geno Smith again next week. Maybe you can get around 500 for when Russell Wilson is able to come back and play. And then maybe you can find your way back into the playoffs. Yeah, nothing else to really say about this game. So we'll move on to the next one, which was Broncos versus Washington football team. I took the Broncos minus the 3.5 in this one. Broncos being at home, I felt like that would be enough to get them the win over Washington. You look at both teams, I don't think there's too much that sets them apart from each other. The Broncos came into this one 3-4. Washington was 2-5. So record-wise, pretty similar. You look at Bridgewater, Heineke, pretty similar there. Running back-wise, Melvin Gordon, Gibson, similar teams. Just that the Broncos are probably a little bit better. Bridgewater is definitely smarter with the football than Heineke is. And that ultimately is probably the separation of the two teams. And looking at this matchup, Bridgewater went 19 for 26, 213 with a touchdown, no interceptions. Key number there. Heineke 24 for 39, 270 with a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. So, in this game of two teams, kind of similar, that turnover margin ultimately led to the difference in the game. Broncos held on for a 17-10 win. That's a win for me. And get back to 4-4. Washington now slips to 2-6. And basically what we learned from this game is that the Broncos' margin of error very slim, because there was still a chance late for Washington to get a tie in this game, but I think that a turnover and downs or something late in the game. And then even then, I think Denver got the ball back, wasn't able to do anything offensively, gave it back to Washington, and then Washington still couldn't find their way into the end zone. So that's why I'm saying Denver held on in this one, but because Bridgewater protects the ball better than Heineke in this one, they were able to keep the touchdown lead. So like I said, Denver, margin of error, very slim. Because they're a pretty good team. It's just that they're not dynamic in any way. Now Von Miller's gone on defense. That takes some of the dynamic away on that side of the ball. Bradley Chubb, I think, is still hurt for them. Offensively, in the skill position area, you have Melvin Gordon, but he's kind of just an average running back. You have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, pretty talented. Oh, Noah Fant as well. Talented pass catchers, but Bridgewater's a guy who doesn't necessarily throw the ball deep that often, so it can be a struggle at times for this Denver team offensively. So 4-4 seems right for them. They seem like a around 500 type of football team, but there is definitely some room there for them to improve. But it's going to fall on Bridgewater. So more performances like this, 19 for 26, is going to be low scoring. Some teams in the AFC that's going to work against. Other teams, especially in their division, Chargers can put up points. The Chiefs, if they're right, can put up points. The Raiders can put up points as well. So they're going to have to fix that, become more dynamic offensively. Otherwise, they're going to be putting way too much pressure on their defense in order for them to get wins in the second half of the season. For Washington, we'll have to see. I don't think Heineke is the answer going forward. He'll most likely get the rest of this year to, audition. But I fully expect Washington to be in the quarterback market in the offseason, most likely the draft. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. We got the Bucks versus the Saints. I took the Bucks in this one minus the 4.5. Let's see. Yeah. So obviously, the Saints have been up and down this year. Winston coming into this game, up and down. Brady and the Bucs have played pretty well. Brady's in the MVP conversation for this year. So it seemed, especially with the number being 4.5, wasn't too big. I thought it seemed like a no-brainer. Bucs came into this one 6-1. Saints were 4-2. So the top two teams in the NFC South down in New Orleans. Big chance if New Orleans could pull the upset to pull within a half game of the Bucs. If the Bucs get the win in this one, improve to 7-1, knock the Saints down to 4-3, get yourself a 2.5 game lead. This game turned out to be way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. And then even more so, once Jameis Winston got hurt, I thought the game was going to be over at that point. But got to give it to Trevor Siemian. He came in, went 16 for 29, after Winston was 6 for 10. So collectively, they were 22 for 39 for 209 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And this, like the Denver game, the no interceptions between the two was an important stat because Brady went 28 for 40. He threw for 375, had 4 touchdowns, but had 2 major interceptions in this game, which really turned the tide. And you take those 2 interceptions with the fact that New Orleans was 32 for 152 on the ground. And the Saints pulled off the upset here. They go get the win 36-27. Improved to 5-2. Bucs are now 6-2. So they're now a half game behind the Bucs for the division lead. So with the 2 interceptions from Brady also had a fumble, which he lost. So that's 3 turnovers from Brady, which were big plays in this game. And I mean, New Orleans, behind that crowd played probably the best game that they played all year. Now we'll have to see with Winston. I believe he has a knee issue because I think they said it was his. I think he tore the MCL, sprained the PCL or something like that. Actually, let me double check. Make sure I give you the right information. Okay, so I was wrong. He tore his ACL. So that's the bad one. When you hear about knee injuries, you have ACL, MCL, PCL. Tearing the ACL is the worst of the 3. And that's what Jameis Winston did. So it looks like he'll probably be gone for the rest of the season. I don't think I've heard them make any moves in the quarterback room. So I guess they're going to go with Siemian as a starter for now. Obviously, they have to bring in somebody to be a backup. So we'll have to see what New Orleans does there. But like I said, with the Winston injury early in this game, Siemian coming in, and from the Siemian that I remember in Denver, didn't think they'd be able to hang in there with them. They not only do that, but the defense comes up big. Like I said, 3 turnovers of Tom Brady. Get the big upset. 5-2. The Saints, especially with this defense, the defense is probably going to have to carry them for the next few weeks. Especially as Siemian, we'll have to see how he plays as a starter now. But behind a defensive effort like this, the Saints could be a problem. I didn't pick them as a playoff team, I think, to start the year. But they're looking like a team that might steal a playoff spot from somebody. And when you look at the NFC West, most people thought you'd get 3 teams out of that division. That's looking a little iffy right now. So maybe with that opening, maybe the Saints jump into it. We'll have to see. but definitely a good win for them and Sean Payton. Tough loss for the Bucs. Well, I mean, we'll see. I'm expecting the Bucs to bounce back, but I don't know. Maybe it was a game where Brady showed his age a little bit. Now, trust me, I'm not Max Kellerman here. I'm not talking about a cliff or anything. I fully expect Brady to bounce back, but it was interesting. Let's go ahead, take a look at the next game here. So we got Cowboys Vikings. That was the Sunday night game? Yes. So took the Cowboys here +3. And I remember when I picked this game, I was trying to figure out why the Vikings were the favorite in this matchup. Of course, I didn't know Dak Prescott was going to be out when I made this pick. I stuck with it anyway because I felt like, based off of Kirk Cousins' history with primetime games where he struggles, and I think even though without Dak Prescott, we got a guy named Cooper Rush as the quarterback, I felt like they would rely on their running game, keep the game close, and win it late. Basically, that's what happened in this game, except for I was wrong on the part with Dallas. It wasn't their running game that actually carried them in this one. It was Cooper Rush. He was 24 for 40 for 325, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The running game was 24 for 78. That's pretty pedestrian. But yeah, Cooper Rush was the story of this game. Kirk Cousins, once again, 23 for 35. That's okay. But only 184. So his struggles in primetime continue. Because the Cowboys won this game 20-16. To improve to 6-1 in the NFC East, you might as well lock that division up already. You know. If any of you remember, was it Tecmo Super Bowl when you won the division? That little screen that popped up with the music and all that. You might as well play it now. Dallas is going to win that division easily. But yeah, Cooper Rush. Probably going to be a one and done thing with him. I'm expecting Prescott will probably be back next week, but if he's not, the Cowboys can feel pretty comfortable having Rush out there. Biggest play of the game probably wasn't even from him. They ran a reverse wide receiver pass where I think Wilson threw it to, I think it was CeeDee Lamb on a 35-yard gain. Gotta tell you, Wilson threw kind of a tight spiral. So the era of wide receivers making ridiculous passes in the NFL continues. But yeah, this is a game that Minnesota probably should have won with Dak Prescott not playing, being able to hold the rush offense in check. You know, Dalvin Cook was out there, not like he was hurt or anything. So in Minnesota's bid to get back into the playoff picture, this is a game I think is going to come back to hurt them in the end. I still think they're going to come up short, but this is a game that they could have changed my view of them, because 4-3 looks a lot better than 3-4, but they didn't make it happen. Got to figure out what this is about Kirk Cousins on primetime, why he seems to struggle each time. I don't know, that's somebody else can do that research, but it's kind of odd. Because I don't think Kirk Cousins is that bad of a quarterback. I'd say he's probably, he's probably middle of the road, but it's not like he's, bottom third of the league or anything like that. but he just shows the worst on primetime. I don't know. But yeah, so Cowboys get the win. Bought themselves a week to get Dak Prescott healthy, managed to get the win anyway. So that's a double win to me for them. But let's go ahead check out this last game of the week, Chiefs-Giants, which was the Monday night game. And hold on a second. So I took the Chiefs in this one minus the 10. And that was probably more about the Giants than the Chiefs because I do not like the way that the Chiefs are playing. They look like they're missing something offensively. Patrick Mahomes has struggled this year. But I also know what the Giants are. They're a team with injuries. No Saquon Barkley. No. Who are they? I mean, Slayton didn't really do anything. He only had 2 targets, no catches. He's just now coming back from injury. They just got Shepard back, I think. But all the makings were there for the Chiefs on Monday night to get an easy win, a nice blowout win. Get all the analysts and stuff to say, look, this is the Chiefs team that we knew that they were, all that kind of stuff. That didn't happen. The Chiefs win a nail biter, 20-17. And to be honest with you, it's a game that the Giants should have won. The Giants played way better than the Chiefs did. But because of the Giants' shortcomings, they let this win slip away. So the Giants are now 2-6, 4 games back of the Cowboys. The Chiefs get back to 4-4. If the season started, when the season started, pretty sure nobody had the Chiefs being 4-4 after 8 games. That's where they are right now. They're an average team and should have lost this game. They should be 3-5, which would make them below average. But they are a team I don't know. At this point, I don't know what to say about them. Mahomes had another interception. I think he's up around 9 or 10 now on the year. He had a QBR of 19. That might be the lowest I think from going over these games. I think that's the lowest on the day. Well, for the week. They were able to run the ball, 27 for 107. That was kind of their saving grace in this game. Tyreek Hill, 12 catches on 18 targets. But his longest catch was 15 yards. That's not what Tyreek Hill is in Kansas City for. Normally, Tyreek Hill has 30-yard gains, 40-yarders, sometimes 50-yarders as his long. To only have 15 means that Patrick Mahomes is not throwing the ball downfield that much anymore. I don't know what the cause of that is. Is that offensive line issues? Is he getting jumpy in the pocket and throwing short, not looking deep anymore? Is he just not accurate deep anymore? Defense is just playing him deep, but we saw that before. Yet Tyreek Hill and Kelsey were able to find pockets to either get, yards after the catch or find a seam and then hit a big gainer. That doesn't seem to be happening this year. And I think that frustration is, evident in their low scoring totals. A couple of years ago, against this Giants team, the Chiefs would have put up 40 with their eyes closed. They struggled to get to 20. So, yeah, it's a nice win for them. It's nice to be 4-4. But trust me, they're not tricking me. I didn't think they're going to be a Super Bowl team to start the year. I definitely don't think they're a Super Bowl team now. And this game is just meh to me. Doesn't sway me either way. I mean, there's not really much to say about this game. Like I said, Giants let it slip away. We're the better team on the night. But there's a reason why the Giants are 2-6. So, there you are. That is NFL Week 8. And I guess since we're halfway point, we could take a quick look at the standings. And just to see where everybody is. So in the AFC, you have the Titans leading the AFC at 6-2. And would have the bye if, the playoffs started tomorrow. Then after that you have so Titans are 6-2, Raiders the 2 seed at 5-2. They own the tiebreaker on Baltimore and Buffalo, who are also 5-2. So Baltimore's your 3 seed. Buffalo is 4. The Bengals, who came into this week as number 1, are now number 5 at 5-3. Then you have the Steelers and Chargers at 4-3. Steelers are the tiebreaker, so Steelers 6, Chargers 7. And then in the playoff hunt, you have Patriots, Chiefs, Browns, and Broncos all at 4-4, with the Patriots owning the tiebreaker over all of them, so they're the 8 seed. Chiefs 9, Browns 10, Broncos 11. NFC, you have the Packers and Cardinals 7-1. The Packers own the tiebreaker over the Cardinals because of the Thursday night win. The Cardinals own the tiebreaker over the Rams because the Cardinals have already beaten the Rams this year. They gave the Rams their only loss. So the Rams, who are also 7-1, are the 5 seed instead of the 1 or 2 seed. Cowboys 6-1, 3 seed. Bucks 6-2, the 4 seed. Saints still have a playoff spot. That's why that win was so big for them. 5-2 is the 6 seed. The Panthers, with their win over the Falcons, are 4-4 and are now the 7 seed. Everybody else is below 500. So Vikings 3-4, Niners 3-4, Falcons 3-4. But yeah, we're now into the second half of the NFL season. Playoff race is becoming more and more clear. So now when I do these, we will look at the playoff standings going forward to see movers and shakers in the standings. But there we are. All right. So that means I went 6-8-1 this week. So that's definitely a step back from last week, which means overall I am 59-2. Okay, still above 500 though. I'll take that. How'd I do picking underdogs this week? 1-1. I went 4-3 picking underdogs. So I'm steadily over 500 picking underdogs, but overall, hit or miss. So 4-3, that means I'm 23-17-1 picking underdogs. All right. But I guess before I get out of here, one last thing. I'm sure all of you heard the story with Henry Ruggs from the Raiders, getting into the accident. Found out, it was fatal. He hit somebody, killed them. Turned out it was a DUI. He's been released by the Raiders, which was the obvious decision there. Faces jail time. I think it's like 2 to 20 years. But another young football player, Henry Ruggs is 21, 22. Basically look at it as his career is probably over at this point. We'll have to see the whole legal ramifications, of course. I mean, if he gets the full 20 years, yeah, his career is over. But definitely something to think about, where too many times we're seeing these athletes make these decisions, and you just hate to see a young career probably over at this point. It's not just about Henry Ruggs as well, because the person who was killed in the accident. I mean, definitely have to send your prayers and all that up to that person's family, because it's a situation that shouldn't have happened, but it did, and somebody's life was lost. So, I mean, just have to be smarter with these decisions, especially for these athletes. They have all the available options to them. They can go out and drink and do whatever they want. But, like, from what I've understood, teams have things set aside for them. Like, if they go out and party, they can, call for a driver service or something like that and not put themselves in these situations. So, it's unfortunate what happened to Henry Ruggs. Even more unfortunate to the family of the person that was killed in the accident. But it was definitely a situation that should have been avoided, should not have ever happened. But just wanted to end the episode with that real quick. But thank you guys for listening, tuning in. Also, shout out all of you who are new from the Facebook page. See that gotten a few more likes for the page this week. So shout out to you guys for that. Definitely spread the word, because it's still a growing podcast here. And, just help me out with that. So, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one out there. Be safe. God bless. And I'll catch you next episode. And not really sure what I'm talking about yet. Might talk college football. Definitely have to talk about World Series, which is now over. I'm sure most of you know about that, so we'll have to put a ring on that, and the baseball season. Talk NBA. So plenty to talk about, but I'll catch you next episode. We'll see what I'll talk about, but have a good one. I'm out.